This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Radar, and I'm thrilled to be speaking with Chris Sullivan about his work on This Is Us. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's great to speak with you again. Last time we spoke was after season 5 and the big reveal in the finale. How much did you know then of what the rest of Toby's arc would be?
We were pretty well clued in as to where we were headed. A few of the details were still being ironed out, but yeah, we all had been really well informed early on because Dan had a plan for a really long time. So
I think that in season 6, we went through, I know I personally went through a stage of like initially feeling very bad for Toby, then really not liking Toby, and then eventually being, feeling very endeared to him again. Was it difficult to play these scenes where Toby and Kate are really just doing so poorly?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, Chrissy and I had spent 5 years literally building a relationship on camera and off, and so to have to come to work and to mistreat one another, it was a lot. It didn't make for enjoyable days at work, even though we knew that as actors, the storyline that we were getting to play out was an important one, and was something that we wanted to be rigorously honest about. And yeah, like you were saying, the back and forth, making sure that the audience could understand how a couple grows apart without leaving them truly disliking one or the other person is the balance, the amazing balance that Dan and our writing staff were able to accomplish. And I think that that's probably fairly realistic. Things usually are pretty balanced when things come to an end. Life tends to have a way of working those things out.
Were there parts of the way that Toby felt in the disagreements that you could relate to?
I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, there were part of the reason why the story is so relatable is that they're familiar. There's a familiarity to these arguments. There's a familiarity to these tensions, and I don't think any relationship is free of those types of disagreements or tensions. So certainly, I mean, there were certain times, and I've heard this from several people, where it felt like direct quotes were being pulled from my current or past relationships. And so I think Sterling even commented on in his storyline, like one of his family members called him upset that he had shared their story with the writers and the writers had put it in the show. And he was like, that did not happen. That's just how in touch with, the truth our writing staff is. And that's why people gravitated to the show so much.
And I had the chance to speak with Chrissy recently, and she mentioned there was a lot of negative fan reaction to the breakup, and that it was difficult because it also, the episode in which we see a lot of what happens afterward takes place over such a long period of time that it wasn't just right after, that she moved on. And so I think it's interesting because the show deals with time in a tricky way, where if you're not paying close enough attention, you might not realize how far apart things are.
Yeah, the episode 12, I believe, is the episode that kind of maps out the disillusion of their relationship and the beginning of her relationship with Philip. And it was a lot to write. Our writers did an incredible job putting that episode together. It was a lot to shoot. There were, I think, 30 to 40 costume changes for Chrissy and I each in that episode, which for anybody count it, that's like a feature film, more than a features film worth of costume changes. And then it was a lot to take in. Even when I watched the episode back, I was like, this is heavy duty. It's a heavy duty episode. But I think the kind of through line goal of This Is Us is to give people the perspective of time to rocket the audience into the future, to give them a better look at what's happened in the past, and put instant distance between them and those happenings. And we're not used to it as, you know, non-television viewing human beings. Like, as people in our own lives, that's not how this works. And so it can be a lot, but yeah.
And I do want to mention two of my favorite moments with Toby from the finale. I don't think we need to do a spoiler warning because I don't know who's gotten this far into this interview without being caught
Yeah.
up on this.
Yeah,
I don't know what that person exists who's, this invested but not
yeah.
watching the show. But in the final moments with Rebecca and with Kevin, I think Rebecca, obviously, that's a very tender one, and we get to see how through all of this, Toby still has his sense of humor, which is really nice. And especially with Kevin, when he makes that joke, which he doesn't quite land the right way, but I think that's also indicative of their relationship.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'm realizing about our show, our show's been kind of pigeonholed as an emotional show, or the tearjerker show. But we got to watch an episode. I don't remember which one it was, maybe 14 or 15, at a Paley Fest event, with a theater of like 2,000 people. And we went and sat in the theater, and there's an experience doing that, watching it with other people, that you don't really realize when you're at home, because maybe when you're watching alone or you're watching with one other person, you're not hearing this reaction. But there is so much laughter in our show. There's so much levity. There's so much joy. Sterling and Justin and Chrissy and Griffin Dunn and Justin. I mean, they're all just so funny, and the writing is so funny. And I think when we're watching this show at home, we get, as human beings, we have a negativity bias, right? We tend to let the positive things slide off our back, and we hold on to these negative or tumultuous feelings. And that episode we watched with that audience, it was 80% laughter, and maybe one moment of real, like, tear-jerking emotion. But I think for me, that's the message. Like, don't allow those tears to erase all of the joy, to erase all of the levity and the humor and the lightness that life has to offer, because we can get bogged down in those, what are, to be honest, brief moments in the grand scheme of things, of grief or sadness or whatever that feeling may be.
Yeah, and I think it was definitely weird at the end to see the new three Pearson married-ins, and Toby not to be a part of that. But it was nice that there was still this tender moment between Toby and Kate, which didn't feel like it was going to threaten her relationship. It's more about I liked that. It's an important line.
Yeah, it was a really sweet resolution to two people who may no longer be in romantic relationship to one another, but who still love each other very much, because those again, just because something goes wrong and a relationship ends doesn't erase all of the good feelings that were cultivated over however many years.
Is there anything you would have liked to see from Toby's storyline that just wasn't time for?
No, literally the writers and Dan, gave me everything I could have wanted and needed to wrap it up and to fully flesh out this human being.
That's really nice. I think that's pretty rare, especially on this show where there's so many different plot lines. That's really great to hear.
Yeah. And
I know that you're not taking a break from TV, and you have another show coming up soon where you're playing someone who's also divorced. Can you share about that?
Yeah, we just finished shooting a pilot for ABC called The Son-in-Law. And it's about a man marrying up in in every way, and having to do a lot of sucking up to his new father-in-law. And in this show with an incredible cast, including Anupam Kher, the legendary Indian actor, and I get to perform alongside Rima Sampat and a whole other slew of incredible people. So we're editing that right now, and hopefully that'll be on the air sometime mid-season.
That's wonderful. Do you think you're going to have a lot of This Is Us fans following you, expecting to see Toby in this role?
Well, they saw a lot of me in Toby, and so they'll probably see a lot of Toby in this guy just because I'm there as well. But yeah, I think it's a show that This Is Us fans are going to easily make the shift to. If you want a show that's maybe 99% laughter and 1% heavy emotion, it's going to be the perfect show for them.
Did you enjoy making that transition to something that really is more comedy?
Yeah, it took a second. It took about a half a day of shooting to be like, okay, what is this format? Look at this new format and the way that they're shooting it. And I had to kind of get behind the monitors and take a look and say, oh, okay, so this is what this is going to look like. This is what it's going to feel like. But it was really great to stretch my legs in a new format and get a chance to dive into some straight up comedy. Yeah.
When we spoke last year, you said such warm and glowing things about your fellow Emmy nominees. So I'm curious, since then, what have you been watching this season and what do you really like?
We've been getting caught up on Yellowstone, which, I guess I never realized that Cole Hauser is one of the greatest living actors that we have. He's becoming one of my heroes. He's really incredible on that show. What else have we been watching? We're watching Hacks, which is an incredible show, incredibly funny. Everyone on that show is just endlessly charming. What else? We just wrapped up a bunch of stuff. It's hard. The short-term memory seems to have left me since the pandemic. But those are the two shows that we've been loving the most recently.
Great. Well, it's really great to be able to speak with you again and to talk more about Toby. And I'm excited to see this new show.
Yeah, thanks so much. Look forward to it.
Of course. Take care. Thanks, Chris.
Have a good one.